welcome. Let me check if the thing is recording well. It's recording well. The US UFO report was released last night, Finnish time, at the very end of Friday local time. And I haven't found it available online yet, but rest assured I will. It's only 8 pages long, so I recommend everybody reads it. It's not one of those gargantuan 3,000 pages long exposés which nobody can read. It's actually done in the minimalist way, which is very good for a report like this that the public is supposed to be able to understand. And I've watched some clips about it to get an idea of what it says. And let me condense it here for you. This will probably be quite short, but I might actually do a very long one. So let me compress it for you here. They studied 144 reports, and of those 144, 143 remained unknown. They could not explain them. They could explain one out of those 144, and it was a balloon deflating. And that retains something on the order of 99.25% of all reported cases in this study remained in the realm of not being completely understood. They put forward 5 possible explanations. Aerial debris, which is birds, old weather balloons, what have you. But they pretty openly said that that's, bollocks, because of the 144 they studied, only one fit this category. And the other one was some kind of secret US technology. And that would mean that the US does not know, and the Senate does not know, even after being asked to be briefed on what these things are. In other words, the US military complex, according to that explanation, has reached a point where they no longer report to the Senate, even under oath. So, don't know if that's better or worse than UFOs, but it's certainly bad. Then the other one was foreign adversarial technology, but they said in the report that they have no evidence whatsoever indicating that these would be foreign. They have nothing along the order of leaks from China reporting that they are developing this kind of technology, satellite pictures of these things in a field in Russia, the stuff that you usually get when somebody develops something in a planet that's completely surveilled by the US. They have nothing along the order of reports on what country would be doing this. They have nothing. So that basically removes one of the worries we had, that they're gonna target a neutral country and say it's these guys based on what some nerd is doing in his backyard. So that's removed. Then there was a 5th category, which I can't remember. One moment.
Into UFO sightings. In 2009, DoD counterintelligence officer Lou Elizondo takes over the effort, and it's renamed the Advanced Aerospace Threat Identification Program, or ATIP. After 8 years, Elizondo leaves ATIP, annoyed with the lack of dedication to getting real answers or investigating further. Then there's Christopher Mellon, who served as Deputy Assistant Secretary of Defense in both the USG or U.S. Industry Developmental Program.
Airborne clutter, which is other words for debris. Natural atmospheric phenomena is the one I forgot. U.S. National Industry. Here's the part. We were unable to confirm, however, that these systems accounted for any of the UAP's reports we collected. Foreign adversary systems.
Programs, foreign adversary systems, and a catch-all other bit.
The report said 143 of 144 remained unexplained, and they could only explain one, and that was the deflating balloon that they found, and that retains 143 as unexplained. And they also mentioned that the flight characteristics of, I think, 18 of the reported...
Looked at over 144 reports between the years 2004 and 2001. 80 of those reports had multiple sensors detect the object. So here's the juicy part. Over a dozen of those reports include observations of unusual movement patterns or flight.
So 18 incidents after the study, after they went through all the options, thinking secret program, secret whatever, 18 retained active flight characteristics that are unusual. That's code word for stuff that we can't do, such as without discernible means of propulsion and move at considerable speeds. Keep in mind that they are not accepting like Billy Bob and his uncle Bob Billy in a barn drunk at 5 o'clock in the morning seeing something weird fly by. They're not accepting those reports. They are doing only and specifically reports where they have high level of confidence that they're actually seeing something to begin with and that it's not a hallucination. They needed, I don't know the exact details, but based on the evidence that they've given us thus far, they needed things like radar contact, satellite contact, multiple observation posts, and so on and so forth. Of those reports, 18 incidents, and I'll read this out to you. Some UAP appear to remain stationary in winds aloft, move against the wind, maneuver abruptly, or move at considerable speeds without discernible means of propulsion. And here's the funny bit that I was interested in. In a small number of cases, military aircraft systems processed radio frequency energy associated with UAP sightings. So in other words, in some of these 18 incidents, the fighters and military systems associated with tracking and getting close to these actually received radar communication, meaning that they are trying to talk to us. This was what I was looking for, and this is specifically what I was hoping for, that there is some form of communication attempt from them to us to see if we can decode their radar or radio. That was especially what I was interested in. If there is anything that resembles them communicating with us, I would be very interested. I would be super interested in getting the radar log of what did these guys get in the radio. What what kind of signal was it? Was it single tune? Was it modulating? Was it highly modulating? Was it on some hydrogen dead spot, which is where we have stated that aliens should communicate with us if they are going to be able to communicate with us, because broadcasting in a spot where there's no natural radiation in the universe, no background radiation to speak of, and making a signal in that bandwidth shows that you have certain levels of understanding of the universe, that you should find a quiet spot and try to talk there, if you will, and not shout in a crowd, if you will. And this report indicates that some of these were actually radio communications, which is very interesting. And they said in this report, based on what I've seen here, that they need more study on what they're actually seeing. So they are going to go with we don't know. And of the cases of 144 we studied, one was an air balloon, and 18 remained with flight characteristics that are in an unusual way, or what can be interpreted to mean stuff that we can't do, which is stuff like move at considerable speeds, which is code for 20 kilometers a second. So stuff that is much faster than what we can do, or without discernible means of propulsion, or leaving behind any kind of jet contrail, which is also what the Oumuamua did, which is not leave behind any kind of evidence that it has a propulsion system. Additional rigorous analysis are necessary by multiple teams or groups of technical experts to determine the nature and validity of these data. Shouldn't that be this data instead of these data? Shouldn't that be these data? I don't know. I'm not an expert in high English. This is high English. We are conducting further analysis to determine if breakthrough technologies were demonstrated.
Right. And
so we will do our favorite bit and ask FedMap. So, hello guys. Like I was really hoping for, some of these contacts have been using radio directed towards the craft that have been flying close to them, which means they are sending, as far as I can tell, a signal to the guys getting close to them on what they are, but we don't have the ability to decode them yet. So I would be deathly interested to the point of incomprehensibility in getting my hands on what the radio signal was. And even if they can't decode it, I would be interested in the raw data and seeing if I can decode it using any of my means, such as the randomizer AI saying it might be able to plug into it and see what it does, or making a neural network like this threat map system and seeing if the radio signal is, for example, a self-contained AI, or what you might call a virus. But end result is that they pretty much admitted that if it's US, they can't prove it, and it means that the military-industrial complex no longer follows the Senate, meaning that if the Senate asks to be told what is going on, the military-industrial complex lies to them, which is bad news all of its own, but is not really UFOs, but is the alien inside us theory, meaning that we have developed to a point where the highest facets of our society are so alien to the lowest that you might as well call them fully alien. That is one of the theories we had. They also openly stated that it's probably not adversarial, because when somebody like China or Russia or India or what have you develops a new advanced form of technology, there are things like boomers, there are leaks. Somebody takes a picture of the device and smuggles it to the US for the 10 million that they're going to give you. Stuff like that. There's going to be satellite pictures because US has complete intellectual control over the planet and things like that, because it's the superpower. You got to live with it. So they admitted that it's probably not theirs. If it's theirs, it's reached a point of non-responsiveness or non-conductivity with the US Senate, which is interesting all of its own and can be considered the alien insiders theory. And it's probably not adversarial because there's no leaks and no intelligence data even confirming the rumors, because when the US developed that super advanced drone aircraft, which I showed to you in a couple of those videos, it took Russia about 2 years to publish that they have made a copy of it and are now able to fly it on their own. And while they were doing it, the copy, there was a copious amount of leaks and lies and misinformation and all that stuff. And in this case, nobody in the government circles are doing the things that would be associated with trying to cover it. And if they weren't even trying to cover it, the US would be aware of it. So that's what they're saying. One of those cases was an air balloon out of 144. So 143 remained unexplained. And of the 143 that were unexplained, 18 were both observed from numerous points and made known to be physical, so that they weren't like imaginary or hallucinations, and performed flight characteristics that are, the US used the word unusual, but to me it sounded like code for what we can't do, such as the flight of 20 kilometers a second, or being able to hover without forms of engine crosswind. So if they were just balloons, they would have been flowing with the wind, and they didn't have any discernible flight characteristics to them. So the end result is that those 18 cases are the high-tech stuff that we've seen and have radar confirmation for, and satellite and guys on the top of cruisers and airplanes flying close, that performed in ways that we cannot explain, that are not to our understanding doable. So they left the door open for it to be some kind of US military secret program. But considering the report had a secret annex where they could have simply said that it's secret and they can't explain it now, and then give the senators who are privy to the secret information the understanding of what they're seeing, it seems like a little unusual that they are even leaving it open, if you will. It seems a little unusual. I understand it, but it is a little weird. And of those 18 cases, I don't know how many of them, but some of them carried with them RF radio or radio frequency. I think RF might be rotating frequency, but anyway, radio frequency messages sent to the fighters that got close, but they couldn't decode them. They couldn't understand what those craft were saying when they were flying close. And that leaves, let's say, half of those 18 cases exhibited radio frequencies. We don't know the real numbers, but let's just say half. That leaves us with 9 cases of up-close alien technology sending radio signals to the people who get to them, which means that if you go to the middle of the ocean and start broadcasting a signal of "Cometh thou here, alien," and have a radio recorder on, you might be in a few years lucky enough to have a actual radar radio signal from these guys, and then you can put it to the civilian community and they can analyze what it actually said. Thank you, Iceland, for also being very interested in this. I'm not surprised, but that the Eve guys are very interested in this alien thing. And this seems to me, based on what I'm seeing, that the next logical step is to have a recorder of the radio signals and then release what the radio signals were once you have a few of them to the public community and see what you can see. That seems to me to be the next logical step. Because if they are already sending forms of radiation, in this case, radio frequency, that we know is communication for the most part, it can also be distance estimates and things like sensors or stuff like that. But it seems to me that this might be the kind of hello that we've been looking for, the literal hello signal that we have been trying to find. So I would be deathly interested as humanly possible in getting my hands on the originals of those radio frequencies. And I would be interested to see if they have the kind of modulation that our steady beacons have. Do they have a modulation to them? Does the signal go up and down? Does it go up and down regularly? Or does it have different spikes and different frequencies and so on, which even without understanding any of the encoding systems that they use, without understanding any of their language or any of that stuff, even looking at the radio frequency and seeing if it's a steady pulse, then it's probably a distance estimate or radar or sonar. And if it goes up and down, it can be some kind of flight light, such as please observe this craft and pass by on the right. If it's like a fluctuating signal, like what if it steadily fluctuates, like what you would see with a police car. If it has numerous different spikes, then it's probably open form of communication without encoding. If it has a lot of different spikes and a lot of different similarities, then it's probably a complexly coded message. And just having this kind of understanding would be immense. And giving the pure form of the signal to university students and university groups to try to open might show us within a few years, even shorter than that, what they actually said. Because we have tried this by using stuff like binary code and stuff like very complexly compressed signals that are short, and sending them to the university students and telling them to try to open them. And they usually can. It takes them some time, but it's opening an encoded signal, no matter how complex it is. If it's short, in other words, it doesn't contain a lot of information. And if it's fairly obvious of quality, it's fairly obvious that there's no like distortions in it, it is reasonably easy to open. You can't open like a database of numbers reaching hundreds of thousands of numbers. But if it's something like the radio signal sending in binary a picture of the hydrogen atom, for example, just something like that, which would be very simple hello, because it would be easy for us to open, then opening it in a university setting with researchers shouldn't even take months. It might be a matter of days. And that to me seems like the next logical step. We've gotten them to come close. We've gotten them to play with us and fly around with us. and we've gotten them to say something in their radio or communicative system, and we have a preliminary on what those communications might be. So the next logical step, as Iceland seconded, is to get the radio frequency communication that we've gotten and we have recordings of and get it analyzed by researchers. So that's the next logical step. You can try to go the manual route where you just observe these signals and craft and gather more information about their flight characteristics until you have some kind of idea of who they are and what they do. But for the sake of speed and perhaps economics, now would be the perfect time to study the radio signal they sent. So that is what it is about. If it's something simple, like, for example, the molecular structure of hydrogen drawn out in a 3D model in binary, it would take a matter of days to open it. If it's something complex, like their system of laws and a hello, for example, it might take a long time to open because it would be very time consuming to open. But even then, with top of the line university researchers and high access to equipment, it might not take that long. So that's the gist of the UFO thing that I have talked about and seen people be interested in. So record the radio signals and release them. If you can't release them to the public domain, then at least release them to your own university level researchers and see what they can come up with. It looks like the radio signals as stated here.
Developmental programs, foreign adversary systems, and a catch-all other bit. They looked at over 144 reports between the years 2000. Usual movement pattern.
And if this is to be understood as somebody outside of our governmental structure, we don't yet want to say aliens, because this could be the aliens inside this theory. This could be the military being in warp age and wanting to see if we can actually follow them or whatever. I don't know. This could be friggin' plant life messing around with us, because we know plants can do weird things. But whatever it is, this is the interesting part. In a small number of cases, military aircraft systems processed radio frequency energy associated with UAP sightings. So that's the interesting part. We need to get a hold of that radio frequency, get a hold of what frequency it was on and what was said. And once we understand that, we might have our first contact. I'm seeing a lot of flying sprites right now. When you get a drop in your blood's oxygen content and then suddenly spike it again, you're gonna see these bright sprites moving about, because the red blood cell is oxygenating, far as I know, the blood, and it's causing a bright spot to move in your vision. They're traditionally called sprites, I think. So that's about it. There's not much else to say. there's a few things that might be interesting, like if we discover that they're the aliens within, or if they are truly some kind of covert technology from somebody else who's being able to manage the publicity so that there haven't been leaks. That in and of itself would be interesting. But none of these peripheral points are anywhere near as interesting as the fact that some of them send radio signals. They're not just floating rocks, if you will. They are sending radio to us. And I'm seeing, based on what I'm observing at this map, that the US intelligence community didn't understand that. They didn't grasp how important it is that they've picked up alien radio, and they are now doing some research on it, and they are investigating it. So I will get back to you, but I will go through some private research now, which cannot be shown because YouTube doesn't allow stuff from YouTube back to YouTube, which is, like I said, weird. But I will get back to this topic, and let's actually try this first. My radio antenna with an electron microscope, or a electron double gate, whatever you want to call it, as the detection apparatus. Let's see what my radio says. This is where we left off. This is like the golden plate on that satellite, which had a lot of music on it. Where when we were last talking, we were talking, I think, about politics. So we tried to leave it at a good note, so we can show that we achieved an understanding on this topic, and we're ready to move to the next topic. So let's see what they say.
I think we should get an explosives guy down here to take a look at this.
These Scots are more macho than we Italians. Horrible. And the stuff they eat. Yuck. Yeah, that's probably it. It's the slop they eat that does it.
This would be their side, or the Nordic alien side. They said that the reason we don't understand this stuff that they're sending so intuitively is because of the stuff we eat. In other words, they're going like, so primitive. Took them a decade to realize we're sending radio signals. So this is like tuned in and said that it's an adventure.
Вказуй напрямок.
This whole scene is making me nervous, man. Got a couple of turkeys. Jolly good.
Grunty.
Jackpot. The spawning grounds. Gonna nip this right in the butt right now. Okay, let's go. I like to kill. I even like to watch killings. But when I don't
Well, this is the right planet for you then.
my own killing, I don't go back. Ever. I think we knocked off all of that team. My firearm is jammed.
And there we go. That's all that needed be said. They are of the other side of the angelic coin, as far as this one says, and they are interested in us for our primitivity. And interested is perhaps the wrong word, but have noted our primitivity and are trying to communicate with violence to violence, because they see violence as our form of communication, which is why this brain is called a threat map, for example, instead of cyber brain or what have you. They've noticed the same trend that I have noticed, and they are commenting that our planet is very in depth into violence, butchery, and what have you. And they are trying to associate with it, but it didn't feel like a natural thing. Like they were trying to put up airs of associating with it, and the feeling of not being comfortable with our stupidity compared to them, which is basically if they're like really aliens in interplanetary or interstellar sense, not to even mention intergalactic sense. Even our super advanced, super intelligent beings are gonna be like apes to them. So they are commenting on the path that I felt was honest, that it is a little jarring to communicate because it's like so primitive and so bloody. Let's see what else.
Got it. Loser. If we're not careful over here, it could be dangerous.
True.
What is that there?
Our borders to the Far East, the South, and the West are secure.
What is the Roman
The
Empire
various
then?
Germanic tribes threaten the Near Eastern borders. They have always done, and Rome's legions are committed to that frontier. I have no troops left for the far north or generals to command them. You will secure Britannia once and for all. Build a medium city far to the north, in the province called Lindum. Here, your military prowess will be as important as your governing skills. Your assignment is to build a wall that will keep the Celts and their brethren out of Britannia. Security is your main concern in Lindum, but I also challenge you to achieve high ratings to prove yourself worthy of the next final promotion. If you can do it, I shall turn the Empire itself over to you. I have wanted to retire for some years now, but lacking an heir, I need to find a worthy successor. Prove yourself this one last time, and the ultimate prize is yours.
Managed to communicate with these aliens of the north or what have you, these spirits of the north, and you will be, you know, the guy.
That's one bunch wiped out, eh?
Let me have a good look. A rather remarkable door, I dare say. Reinforced to the extent that explosives may not even do the trick. Right, everyone's present then. Time to move on.
Скоро мне понадобится отдых.
Don't know where you expect me to go. We are in the tunnel after all.
Indeed, the fox
Okay.
has left many a broken heart scattered across this pitiful place.
I'm mixed up. Sounds good. I'm ready to head out when you are.
The city seems to be in good health. Huh?
It's trash.
It's not Tyranids because we're still all healthy.
Shot operation you're running.
I'm tired of this, son.
Like always, everything I've been hoping for falls through. Expect the same, dirtball.
There's one over here, son. Satan waits patiently for your arrival. Ага. Ну-ка, что я выиграл? Спортивную машину. Талон на подарок или просто этот гигантский омлет? I respectfully
You get this communication through, and the Russians are gonna give you a gigantic omelet.
refuse.
I'll probably miss. You can forget it, man.
Just who's do you think yous are?
I feel faint.
This stranger does not see me.
How's about some respect for the cloth?
Kelly.
I was beginning to believe that there weren't any men left like you, Koba. How naive of me. Let's hope you got what it takes.
Tacky. See one. What's the rush? I had a triple bypass, you know.
This LZ's been pacified, keeping all your options open until the last minute, yeah? That's one sure way to get me to say Auf Wiedersehen. Next time, ask me sooner.
So I hope that offered as much information to you all as it did to me. So, So I'm gonna see what I can see in the radio and keep an eye on. Actually,
Hello, worm. Oh.
The conclave fiber. Data links.
And the man said, "Let there be light." And he was blessed by light, heat, magnetism, gravity, and all the energies of the universe.
Finally, just before you're about to cross the event horizon, you see the entire rest of the observable universe contract to a single brilliant point immediately behind you. If you train your telescope on that point, you'll see not only the light of all the stars and galaxies, but also a curious dim red glow. This is the cosmic microwave background, boosted to visibility by the intense gravitation of the black hole.
The only thing that the Imperial ship crews fear even more than traveling in the warp is traveling in the warp while there is a storm raging. The light of the Emperor's Astronomicon can no longer guide the navigators, and entire sectors can be isolated, preventing any help from afar. The chaos, at home in the distortion of reality, becomes an even greater threat. And even the most experienced navigators can only hope for a safe arrival at their destination.
Not all done?
The light of the Astronomicon shines once more. Reinforcements have been dispatched to the Gothic sector. The warp storm, it is gone. Tremble before the majesty of the Emperor, for we all walk in his immortal shadow.
I shall not confront planet as an enemy, but shall accept its mysteries as gifts to be cherished. Nor shall I crudely seek to peel the layers away like the skin from an onion. Instead, I shall gather them together as the tree gathers the breeze. The wind shall blow and I shall bend. The sky shall open and I shall drink my fill. Gaian Acolyte's Prayer.
Hello, worm? Oh!
As predator and prey, hit speeds of 40 miles per hour. The probes are left in the dust. Ike launches a camera disc to follow the action. The arrow tongue commands the road like a semi-truck. The gyro sprinter corners on a dime. Night falls on Darwin 4. Scattered bands of bioluminescence rake the surface like some kind of alien landscape lighting. Possibly it's a form of communication on Darwin 4. But Ike and Leo ignore the light show and push on towards their prime objective.
Do you know what it's like when telepaths make love, Commander? You drop every defense, and it's all mirrors reflecting each other's feelings. Deeper and deeper. Until somewhere along the line your souls mix. And it's a feeling so profound it makes you hurt. It's the only moment in a telepath's life when you no longer hear the voices.
You see, all of the positive energy and form of matter is exactly equal to the negative energy and form of gravitational force created by that mass. What does that mean? Everything around us, the whole universe is energy, adds up to exactly zero. Nothing.
So that one's pretty much perfectly 0, 0, 0 relative, right? Yeah.
Angel, all of the gates are locked down. The rest is up to you.
I need you to leave.
Sounding like a good idea to find the frequency that they're communicating with and impose a ban on it for a moment to have a pure background. Seeming like a good idea, at least around those vehicles, and try to record as much as you can. And
Not exactly, but there is an artifact on our homeworld, Thessian, known only to highest levels of my government.
What is it?
With any luck, it's a means to help you locate the catalyst.
I got a distinct sense of that one mirroring the signal that was picked up with frequencies and such. It was low energy, and it seemed to be modulated, and it seemed to have the mood of what we would call low level of discomfort or low level of pain, like lower than if you take a random aircraft and go fly around a US carrier and the US carrier responds, lower than that, but the same mood, like perhaps like you are getting too close or something along those lines. And a level of discomfort and pain at being so close. And not like real pain, but like discomfort at somebody who you're not completely familiar with being too close to you. Thank you, Iceland, again.
Surrender and you won't be harmed. I'm not leaving her.
The artifact is kept in a temple located at these coordinates. I've ordered a scientific team to meet you there.
If this artifact is so important, why keep it hidden?
Every species in the Citadel has its secrets, Commander. But this one, in the wrong hands, would upset the balance of galactic power.
The Reapers are doing that right now.
Which is why I'm bringing this to you.
I appreciate the help.
It's you who will be helping us. The matriarchs are growing desperate. For the first time in our history, Thessia is vulnerable.
There is utter confusion here in Safazan, as the condition of Empress Jamal Saram remains unknown after a Titan carrying the Empress was destroyed by Drifter forces just a few minutes ago. The Empress was to attend the inauguration of the new Imperial flagship, the Octoritas, at the Safazan headquarters of the Imperial Navy. Traveling in the Seraph, an Avatar-class Titan, the Empress was believed to be well protected and accompanied by a formidable escort. Despite this, the Seraph came under attack from a large Drifter force, appearing almost immediately after the Empress arrived in Safazan. Imperial guards attempted to intercept the attackers, but the Drifters used new tactics in their assault, utilizing their superior speed to head straight for the Seraph while ignoring all other ships. Within a matter of seconds, the Seraph was completely engulfed and obliterated by simultaneous fire from the entire Drifter force. It is obvious that the Empress was the sole target, and once the Seraph was destroyed, the Drifters warped away without concern for any other ships present.
They forced the
For all our intellect,
female
we're outmatched
avatar
by
that we had to become a
I'll do what I
public figure. They did in
Whether
the
you know
light,
it or not,
and
you've
when
become
she
the
was
sole ray of
destroyed
hope
in
in a
Eve,
very
she
dark
appeared
night.
in the real world. So she
God is
appeared in the
everything.
light. And they weren't really attacking her. They were telling her to stop playing
I
the shadow
have it.
game to that extent.
Right up your alley, I would think.
Photonic, right?
Oh, what's left of one. What's left of all of them. I am the last. And these fragments I have shored against my ruins. T.S. Eliot.
Lucifer, the last.
You wouldn't know him yet, but he is so depressing yet so divine.
The one who wants to be the last one to merge back
I'm
into
sorry.
God, so to be
The
the
lending
God.
library is temporarily out of service. Not to worry, I have them all right here. Every page, every volume.
Last photonic.
Can you tell me what's happening here? Well, my sources are no longer fully annotated, and my information is somewhat anecdotal. But I believe what was once one race is now two. One above and one below. Two distinct species that have evolved. And how do those below survive? That is the real question, I don't believe it. Well, if you don't like the answers, you should avoid asking the questions. Look at them. They have no knowledge of the past, no ambition for the future. So look at. Why would you say something like that? Can you even imagine what it's like to remember everything? I remember the 6-year-old girl who asked me about dinosaurs 800,000 years ago. I remember the last book I recommended, The Homeward Angel by Thomas Wolfe. And yes,
or even remember to heal.
Time travel, practical applications.
Time travel, practical application.
My advice to the president would be we have to demonstrate what we're capable of.
I have suggested that to him already, and the president agrees.
I would say it's a phenomenally bad idea to hit one of those tic tacs with the laser weapons you're thinking of doing. I'm just gonna say that one out loud. That would be a phenomenally bad idea.
We have target lock. System is firing.
Because you can just fit laser weapons onto a small fighter, or if it requires more power, into one of those AC-130s or whatever, and just target one of those tic tacs because missiles are too slow.
Very effective. Everyone here is quite impressed.
Let's hope the Russians are as well.
We predicted their next step would be to launch more anti-satellite weapons, and that's exactly what they're doing. I'm sure they're moving rockets into position as we speak.
And your next step?
We're preparing a proportional response. I'm recommending we take out their launch site.
Well, this is all leading to a full-scale nuclear attack, though, isn't it?
Unless we comply with their demands, yes. That would be a high probability.
Shouldn't we just nip this in the bud?
Given our new ability to defend ourselves, we don't see the need to jump the gun. The president is currently rethinking our position on unilateral control of the system.
I see.
Dr. Jackson, what are you doing?
As I suspected, the president is obviously failing to overcome a lack of necessary leadership abilities. So I'm going to have to step in and prevent a global nuclear war.
You're not supposed to be able to do this. You can't do this.
I've already done this. This bunker is well protected. Don't even think about sending a cruise missile our way.
Dr. Jackson!
I don't know about the rest of you, but I've had enough of that guy.
A few of the minor countries are going to put fighters in the air and start broadcasting random radio noise until they find one of those tic tacs and then record what they say on the radio. Even if the US doesn't release their radio communication with them. Moscow already has one of those projects, but they are a little more primitive than what, for example, Estonia and Portugal were thinking.
Don't you think it was a little strange you got through security with a loaded gun?
War in heaven.
You never were that bright.
Daniel, think about one thing before you do this. We never proved that kid was a Narcissus.
What are you talking about?
Everything he put in your head. The Gould had used mind control before.
You think this is some elaborate Gould plot to get me to destroy the world?
We've seen him use kids, too.
You sheep would have put a bunch of stuff in my head in order to get me to build the weapons, only to eventually turn them on.
It's possible.
There's only one flaw in that theory. You're assuming this is not what I wanted all along.
Finally, just before you're about to cross the event horizon, you see the entire rest of the observable universe contract to a single brilliant point immediately behind you. If you train your mind for that point, you see not only the light of all the stars and galaxies, but also a curious dim red cloud. This is the cosmic microwave background, boosted to visibility
Nexus. It is changing.
The Angel is still fighting. Let's head for the Earth Gate. She'll have to make it out of here on her own.
It's too late. The gravity is increasing fast.
Angel, do you hear me?
Get away from me. Now.
Help!
The whole space is collapsing.
Are we okay? Did we escape?
Yes, sir. But the Nexus was destroyed.
What happened after that is there in the history books for everyone to read. The Earth needed time. Lots of time. Did Angel really die? I never truly believed that. Her goals were broader than sacrificing herself for the Earth. She outgrew us a long time ago. She selected this location. I became a new Moses coming down from Mount Sinai. I will never forget the things she told me before she left to fulfill the task she was designed for.
It's an interesting dilemma. Should we attack them? Like truly attack them? Fit every airbase and carrier with like a squadron of fighters with laser weapons? And whenever we see anything resembling a UFO, we just shoot at it with a laser weapon? I mean, we take some of them down. That much I can guarantee you. Tell them to get the fuck out of our home world, you know. Start talking to us when we can reach their home world. Or should we play the part of the Indians encountering the Europeans for the first time and just learn from what the Indians and other cultures on our planet failed to do? Adapt as quickly as possible and hope. You know, I don't have an answer for this one. That's why I'm not the leader of your country. You're the one who's going to have to make that call. But fitting a nuclear reactor or even conventional airplane engine and a lot of batteries and a lot of dynamos so you can empty those batteries in a few moments to a laser gun and then shooting at the UFO might take it down. But who knows? So what is it that you want to do? It's on you guys. So I think the general consensus is not to engage them yet because we don't know what they are, and engaging something that you don't understand is a little unwise. You need to have some understanding of what they are capable of to have any kind of idea of what engaging them might do. And the general consensus is that even if the US doesn't release the radio logs of what transmissions those UAPs sent, that the minor nations are gonna try to contact them and record it and publish it on their own, or at least try to see what it looks like. That even looks like the Tic Tac.
Manufacturing retail hybrids. What are they?
Hey guys, what I got for you today is a Ubiquity Networks Unified Access Point review. Less of a review, more of an overview. I don't do really reviews per se. I'm just going to give you my overall impressions after using this for around a month. I've had problems in my house because it's an older home. It has a lot of plaster in it, has two big chimneys, and it's a very small house. It's only like 1,400 square feet. But I have a huge problem with good Wi-Fi access, getting a good signal in different parts of the house, even if I have the router in the center of the house. It's just because of how old the house is and the way the house is laid out. So I was getting tired of buying routers and trying them out. I had one Asus one that worked pretty good, but it still wasn't getting the whole house. And then a buddy of mine told me to check out Ubiquity Networks, one of these guys, these pancake flying saucer, smoke detector looking things. You can't buy these at Best Buy or any of the retailers really that I've seen. I had to get these online. I got these off Amazon actually. I think Newegg carries them as well. And what these are,
Say, is the one common thought shared by the people living in Sumi as large Edencom defense and construction fleets take up positions in the system, declaring that the system shall be an impregnable fortress. Edencom Provost Marshal Kasia Valkanir has promised that under no circumstances will the Triglavian invasion forces be allowed to achieve victory against this Edencom stronghold.
That was an audio mistake or one of those things on the radio.
Saved is the one common thought shared by the people living in Sumi as large Edencom defense and construction fleets take up positions in the system, declaring that the system shall be an impregnable fortress. Edencom Provost Marshal Kasia Valkanir has promised that under no circumstances will the Triglavian invasion forces be allowed to achieve victory against this Edencom stronghold. This is Alton Hoppery reporting for The Scope.
There it is, sir. It's like a hole in space.
Now, we're acquainted with the wormhole phenomenon, but this appears quite different. What do your sensors indicate?
Nothing, sir.
Mr. Data, you must mean that it's empty of matter. There's always some energy form at work.
Sir, our sensors are showing this to be the absence of everything. It is a void without matter or energy of any kind.
Yet this hole has a form, Data. It has height, width.
Perhaps. Perhaps not, sir.
It's hardly a scientific observation, Commander.
Captain, the most elementary and valuable statement in science, the beginning of wisdom is, I do not know. I do not know what that is, sir.
We match patterns that already exist within ourselves through conditioning. So a wonderful story, though, if it's true, is that when the Indians, the Native American Indians on the Caribbean islands, saw Columbus's ships approaching, they couldn't see them at all because it was
Storm
so
clouds and tic-tacs.
unlike anything.
That's probably not their true form.
When Columbus's armada landed in the Caribbean, none of the natives were able to see the ships, even though they existed on the horizon. The reason that they never saw the ships was because they had no knowledge in their brains or no experience that clipper ships existed. So the shaman starts to notice that there's ripples out, but he sees no ship, but he starts to wonder what's causing the effects. So every day he goes out and looks and looks and looks, and after a period of time, he's able to see the ships. And once he sees the ships, he tells everybody else that ships exist out there because everybody trusted and believed in him. They saw him also.
Not you getting that tired. They're not me. They're us. What I've been doing from Earth, they're doing for me. For all of us.
For people couldn't build this.
No, not yet. One day. Not you and me. But the people. A civilization that's evolved past the border mixins we know. What happens now?
You all heard that, Nog?
I'm not very good at singing songs, but here's a try. If you wish to make an apple pie from scratch, you must first invent the universe.
protection of our independence, but of the rights of all men. This is well said, sir. Very well said. Christian.
Thank you for watching. I'll be getting back to this. I feel like they're letting us dictate the terms in that they don't use laser weapons against our craft and bring them down until we try to do the same to them. They don't send radio to us until we send radio to them. I feel like, but I can't confirm. And it feels like this might not be the same group that went about disabling the nuclear weapons. This doesn't feel like the same group. They might be peripherally linked, but I feel like they aren't the guys who would mess with our military in that way. I just feel like, but I could be wrong. And I'm feeling like we have a preliminary understanding of how to communicate with them on the radar. And we will be seeing something new, and I'll be keeping an eye on this. Thank you for tuning in.